All right, good evening, everybody. I'm Sergeant Colleen Stewart with the Topeka Police Department. I'm currently the sergeant in charge of recruiting and hiring. So on the day of the test, if you so choose to take the test, I'll be the one in charge of that particular day. To start with, did everybody sign in on the sheet? And is everybody's phone number current? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. I've introduced myself. Let me introduce those that have come tonight to help me. I have Detective Christy Powell with the Police Department. I have Sergeant Robbie Simmons and Officer Joe Ralston. Now, they're going to be here if you experience some trouble or you have questions about the police department outside of this. They're here to answer your questions to the best of their ability. Okay. We also have with us tonight Mrs. Jackie Hayes. She was a 501 educator, has recently retired, and is now assisting with the Rescue Mission's Net Reach program here in the High Crest community, and she has graciously volunteered her time to help us tonight. So before we begin, does anyone have any questions about what is expected tonight? No? Okay. The testing process of which you're here tonight to take a tutoring session begins with a written test. And that written test is separated into 4 timed sections. Those sections cover math, reading comprehension, grammar and spelling, and incident report writing. Each of those tests are timed, and you'll actually find information about those different sections in the study guides that you have in front of you. So tonight what we're focusing on are 2 particular subjects, and that's math, those word problems that nobody likes to work through, and some of the easier spelling and grammar errors that we make, and how we might be able to correct those. We're also going to talk a little bit about test anxiety. For some of you, it may have been a while since you took a test such as this, so maybe we need to talk about those test-taking skills and the time management that needs to happen with it as well. Okay, so we'll go over that. On the day of the test, we do begin with that written portion. Once that written portion is completed and you have a passing score of 70% in each of those sections, then you'll move on to our POPAT test, our physical agility test, which is the same day in the afternoon, held at the same location. Our test will be held at the Boys and Girls Club, 27th and Adams, for anyone that's from Topeka. Okay, so that POPAT test is a timed physical agility test. There are different stations through that course, and I'll have Detective Powell talk about that. What we're here tonight to learn about is the written test, but it's important to discuss what will also happen that day. So, Detective Powell, would you like to talk about that and some important tips?
Sure. On the day of the test, wear something comfortable, okay? If you wear street clothes in the morning, that's fine, but in the afternoon, you know, you'll want to be wearing t-shirt, shorts, if you're more comfortable in sweatpants than a t-shirt, okay? Because you are going to be it's set up like an obstacle course. They graciously allowed us to modify one of their walls of their gym at the Boys and Girls Club to where we can permanently host our physical agility test. On our website, there is examples of people jogging through the course. It's not a sprint, okay? You can go out there and you can bust tail and you can do it in 2.5 minutes. The time limit, you have to get it in 4:14 or less, okay? It's about, if you think of total distance, about a 400, so that's 1 lap around a track. But there are certain things that you have to do along the way. If you think of a basketball court, end to end, let's say basketball goal to basketball goal. There's cones at each end. It's set up like a figure 8, okay, where you have to jump over some short, like 18-inch, you know, jumps and go up and down a set of stairs. You have to hit each and every stair all the way up and all the way down, and then you backtrack through and do the same thing back and around. You do that 6 times. So you have 6 laps. I'll be one of the people that more than likely that will be timing you. We try our best to keep track of your laps. We keep track of your time. We let you know how you're doing. You'll figure out just after I run a couple people through, the louder I am, the more you need to move, okay? I'm pretty vocal, okay? But we're there to push you because we want you to be successful, so it's not we're yelling at you, we're yelling for you, Okay, we want you, if you need that extra motivation, that little bird chirping in your ear, that's me, okay? But we want you to be successful. In between now and then, obviously, there's not a lot of time, okay, but there's a little bit of time. What, we have a month, Sergeant?
Yes.
There's a month in between now and then. If you haven't been working out, the best thing that you can do from this point on, and I'm gonna speak to the one young lady in the room as well, because most of the guys, you have enough upper body strength to where it's not a big deal, okay? Because it's not totally upper body focused like some tests are. But if you haven't been doing very much cardio, the up and down the stairs, and at the very end there's a bar that you like kind of jump over, you can step over, but by then the time's getting short and most people are starting to get pretty tired. So you're going over the bar, down on your stomach, get back over, it's 3 foot high, go over the bar, lay down on your back. You have to do that 5 times, so 5 sets of those. By the end of that, people are huffing and puffing and they aren't blowing any houses down, okay? So if you haven't been doing any cardio, you need to get out and do some jogging, okay? You might want to go out and do some intervals. I don't know how familiar you guys are with anything like that, but let's say if you're comfortable going out on a jog for a couple minutes at a leisurely pace, okay, get your heart rate up a little bit, but then for 30 seconds or a minute, jog faster, something that's much more uncomfortable for you. And then after that 30 seconds or a minute is up, back it back down for a few minutes, okay? You can do it several different ways. Push-ups are always a good standby. But there's a month, so if you don't feel like you're ready, if you haven't been doing that much, there is time to make improvements in between now and then, okay? One thing I will say, this physical agility test, it's just the beginning of what happens. It's the minimum baseline for what is expected as a police officer. Hopefully each and every one of you will be successful in all of our testing endeavors, and hopefully you'll be sitting in a chair in our police academy. With that being the case, if you barely passed that POPAT test, it's going to be a rude awakening at the beginning of the police academy. I am in charge of all the physical training for all the recruit officers, so if you would ask some of them some of the things that we do, there's days they like me and there's days they don't like me, okay? So if you struggle on this and you make it, start putting a little bit more heartfelt into working out, okay? If you're successful within your endeavors on these 2 sections of the test and you want help, you can email the sergeant for my email and I'll gladly send something out, you know, a little idea, maybe, okay, I'll ask you kind of what you've been doing and I can maybe give you some ideas. I'm not gonna write out a day-by-day training program, but I can give you an idea of what you need to start doing so that you won't have, you know, physical shock once you start the police academy. So we want you to be successful, take care of yourself. If you haven't been doing things so healthy up until now, start doing it, because you got a month and that is a huge time frame when it comes down to getting yourself a little bit better cardiovascular shape. The day of, we'll let you try out some of the obstacles, and you on that day, make sure you go to the weight push and pull, and we'll show you. You use your whole body. The guys kind of do one of these things and pull, and because they just have more body weight. So if you're smaller in stature, I would suggest that you go and try that, and we'll give you pointers the day of. Since we don't have a machine here, it's a little hard. But if you're one of those big guys, piece of cake on that particular obstacle. But that bar at the end, if you're one of those big guys, that's gonna make you huff and puff. So there's advantages and disadvantages for every single body type, okay? Do you guys have any questions?
I took the test, I took the POPAT probably back in 2009.
It should be the same. Was it in the gym over at Oakland?
Yes.
Yes, it's the same test.
Have they changed the time limit?
No.
Okay.
So what's the total time limit?
Total time limit, you have to do it in 4:14 or under,
For the whole obstacle
the
course.
whole obstacle
And
course.
how big is the 80-pound, like what
The
size are we
bag
looking at?
isn't timed in with
Okay.
the obstacle course, it's timed separately. It's a 80-pound bag and we just have it filled with like shell casings,
Okay.
spent rounds.
Like how big is the
It's like a
bag? I
big
mean,
duffel
so-
bag,
Okay.
and it's pliable, so if you're gonna go pick it up, I get under it, and it's gonna fall over your hands. I lock it here, and I just walk with it. You're probably gonna flick it up, throw it on your shoulder, and take
Okay.
off with it, but
There's
that
no-
doesn't work for me.
There's no set way of how you have to carry
No.
it or anything?
Nope, we just don't want you to drop it.
Okay.
Yep.
Good deal.
So it should be the same,
Okay.
so, but
I was trying to think back to time limits and everything back then, and,
we haven't changed it.
okay, I was gonna say, it sounded like the time limit was shorter.
No, you don't, I mean, we like it if you get it done quicker than that, but it's not a total requirement. It doesn't necessarily boost you in the rankings. Higher test scores
Yeah.
on the written test does boost you in the rankings. So do this first, but definitely take care of yourself.
For your, for the trigger test,
Mm-hmm.
do you guys have do you have a set up training facility where somebody could come down and you guys could lend out firearms, but we could, I could practice with a 9mm. down in
Actually, for the
range or
most
anything
part,
like
it's
that?
like grip strength. Go get one of those grip balls.
Okay.
Play with it in all of your spare time, squeeze on it, and even, even if you're lifting weights and dumbbells and stuff, anything that you're actually using grip and strength to hold on to stuff, it's actually gonna help. But a grip ball
So are
will do
you,
the same.
are you actually pulling live rounds when you're
No.
doing that? Oh, okay.
No,
Okay.
no bullets. No bullets that day. So, any other questions? All right.
Either one of you have anything? What you have in front of you should be a study guide. You should have some scratch pieces of paper, 2 pencils, and then you'll see that there's a survey there. If at some time during the evening you would fill out that survey, it is completely anonymous. I just want to know why you chose to take this opportunity. What led you here tonight, okay? So we will move on to the reason why you're here, and that's to refresh some of your skills for our written test. Mrs. Jackie Hayes is here to help us with that. Mrs. Hayes?
They have the same thing I do.
They
Did you,
absolutely
you didn't add the appendix, but then like you were gonna maybe do another one that they could practice on the phone.
Yes, and that's all in there.
Okay.
But it's really
Okay.
the same format.
Okay, great, great.
Well, I'm Jackie Hayes. I'm retired from 501. I was a school administrator in the district. My husband was at Highland Park for many years, so if any of you graduated from Highland Park, you might have known Bob Hayes. My oldest son is the associate principal at Topeka High School right now, and has been there a while. He was at Jardine and he's been at French. So the Hayeses have been in the school district here for some time, and in fact, my husband's dad was a principal at Highland Park when he was a kid. Now that's really hard to go to school with your dad the principal. So we didn't do that to any of our kids. They went to a different high school, so that was good. When they asked me to help with test taking skills, and that's something that I've done a lot of because I was an elementary principal, and we do massive amounts of testing with kids. The thing about kids, and I think adults too that I've talked to, is that they kind of tense up and get nervous about a timed test in particular. So I know that in here it gives you all the same things I'm going to say in the beginning of this brochure. But, it talks about getting enough sleep, having a meal in the morning. Don't skip breakfast and then come in and take the test. Now, that doesn't mean you have to eat a 7-course buffet out at at Cuyahoga Canyon or someplace, because we don't want you to fall asleep taking the test either. But do have some food in your stomach. Your brain needs to have food in your body for it to work. In fact, my husband's doctor told him he's a diabetic and his blood sugar was getting too low and he was having a hard time on the golf course and that kind of thing. And his doctor said, you need to have some carbs or some sugars in your body at all times. That's the only food your brain uses. And that's why diabetics can go in comas if their blood sugar's too low. So have some food in your body and not just coffee and a cinnamon roll or something, but get some protein, get some good food in your body before you come in to take the test. Get a good night's sleep several days ahead of time so that you're not nodding off. And just prepare yourself for it. You've got a study guide. Any career that, many careers, you have to take a pre-test before you can get into that career. If you want to be an attorney, you have to take a test before you can get law school. If you want to be a doctor, you have to take the MCAT before you can get into medical school. If you want to be an educator, you have to take tests. So it's important to realize that what you're applying for when you're applying for the police department is a career. It's not just a job, it's a true career, and you're going to have a tremendous impact on people's lives. And so it's very important that you go through the testing process and that these people who are working with you then pick the best of the best for all of us and for you too. So let's just take a look at, talked about preparing for the test. As was indicated before, the test is in sections. Each section is timed. So probably the next most important thing is that when you look at that, and let's see, let's get over to about page 4. The math section is 20 items, and you have 20 minutes. These are not really very difficult math problems, but you do have to spend enough time to read through them, they're word problems, and pull out what's important and figure the problem. We're going to do a few together.